So first, I'd love just to introduce a couple of folks. We've got Lysandra, Vicki, and Cassandra here tonight with us, sharing kind of some different perspectives. And I'm just going to start kind of by moderating, having a panel discussion, asking them some questions to kind of give you a feel for some of the reasons why a gap year, really. I'd invite each one of our panelists to start just by mentioning who they are, what's the journey that's brought you to Howl, and we'll go from there. So maybe if Lysandra, if you'd want to start, that'd be great.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our virtual open house. I'm so glad that a large number of you guys made it. All right, so I'm Lysandra Nothing, and my role with Howl is a mixed bag for now. But essentially I am their Indigenous learning advisor. And so my aim with Howl is to advise students as well as making sure that Howl is in line with any Indigenous relations, including truth and reconciliation. I'm also part of their media coordinator. So I do a little bit of their website content and social media as well. And so I've actually prepared a little bit of a speech here. So I'm going to be answering quite a few, the 3 questions that I was told ahead of time. So, all right, so why did I decide to take a gap year? So I took a gap year in 2018. And so I took the entire year off. And just to kind of paint the image here, I was the type of student who was involved with, student council. I had great grades and I was consistently building my volunteer experience for, that scary part of the university applications. But in pure honesty, none of that really mattered by the time grade 12 graduation came along. And I'm going to tell you a little bit why. So in the fall of my grade 12 year, I had gone through a very unforeseen and tragic loss of a loved one, and that kind of just threw me off my game. And so I would find myself struggling to carry onwards with my high school education. I would then find myself, further behind my classmates and constantly feeling behind, left out, slow. It felt like I was on a trajectory heading into the unknown while everyone else was on a joyride to their destination. And so I would often feel so burdened with the idea that I had to rush towards a post-secondary program right after grade 12, when all I really wanted to do was just to take a step back and look around and kind of find the correct support I needed to carry onwards. And so, as I mentioned, I did graduate in 2018, and I did spend the next year taking a gap year. And what does that look like? Well, that every person who has taken a gap year or who has left school for a short amount of time or a long period of time, that looks different for everybody. But for myself, I found that I was stumped. I felt alone. And I felt scared because I didn't know what the future looked like for me. And so during my gap year, I ended up, upgrading a couple of classes to pass the time, picked up a few part-time jobs. But most of all, I tried to renew my love for education. And unfortunately, that spark never came while I was in my gap year. And so while I was upgrading my classes, I felt trapped in that traditional classroom setting. The same 4 walls, the same hallway, the same path to the same classroom with the same teacher, with the same coursework that's been handed out over, a number of years. That's never really changed. And so how was my gap year experience transformative? Well, I took a gap year because it was essential to my own growth. Now, if you were to ask me back in 2018, why are you taking a gap year? I couldn't give you the answer that I have now, which goes to show how important the gap year is. And so the gap year was necessary for the change and the challenges and uphill battle that I would soon climb. And without my gap year, I would not have dug deeper into my passions. I wouldn't have really taken that time to just kind of sit with my thoughts and my feelings and try to figure out, like, do I want to pursue this, or do I want to take up this as a new hobby? And so the time and space really did allow me to figure out the career I am in now. And the growth that I had in my gap year allowed me to become career-driven, goal-driven. And so in contrast, 18-year-old me would have cowered at the idea of what I do for work now versus the 19 slash turning 20-year-old me who took that gap year and would have seized every opportunity with confidence. And so, the question is, why would I sign up for a program like Howl? Well, the question should be, who wouldn't, right? And so why would I sign up for a program like Howl? Well, I am one in hundreds, even thousands of students who took a gap year. And like I've mentioned earlier, not every story is the same, but that is the beauty of it. Howl breaks the barriers that are a gap year. It provides structure, direction, and a safe space for youth from all backgrounds to explore their interests and passion without the pressure. So what about the other gap year students? Are they experiencing a life crisis? Are they feeling stuck and unmotivated? Are they so stressed that the excitement of learning turns into a burden? What of the people who are making career changes? What of the people whose life priorities changed so suddenly? What of the people who just graduated high school and don't know where to start? Well, I just want to say that Howl provides that environment where youth explore their opportunities and hearts further. So if I could tell myself 4 years ago that Howl existed, 18-year-old me would have jumped at the sudden beacon of light that Howl is for youth who have struggled to find the next steps in their future, such as I did. Now, looking back on what I know now, I moved forward and succeeded because taking a gap year allowed for me to take the time and take the space to change who I was so I could become who I am now.
Wow. Thanks, Lysandra, so much that I want to join the Howl program. Yeah, I'm floored. That was incredible. And I one thing I wanted to add as well is that you used to be a student of Adam's as well.
That is correct. Yes.
Of Adam Rob's.
Yes.
And you're among 3 people who we're working with who are former students of you for now. So it's neat to see that all kind of come together. Vicki, I wonder if I could ask you the same question. Who are you? What brings you to Howl, and what do you kind of see as the value of the program?
Sure. Well, first of all, welcome everybody. I'm super excited to be here, and I want to thank the 2 Adams for inviting me to participate. So I come here with many hats on. I'm an educator, I'm a parent, and I'm a learning advisor for Howl, because Howl is embraced in learning from the land. It's embraced in community. It embraces a learning model that I have watched Adam Robb do for many years in his classroom. And so as an educator, I'm super stoked, but I'm come here mostly with my parent hat on. So I have a beautiful daughter who's 21, who's currently in university. And I remember when she graduated and watching her cohort graduate, and there was a spectrum. It was like, kind of what you were just saying, Lysandra, like some were like kind of lost. They didn't know what they wanted to do. Some were going to go traveling because it seemed so exciting. Some just wanted to work because they wanted money, and some went to school. So it was a whole spectrum. But for me as a parent, I've always advocated that, you have this experience backpack that you're wearing, and you're putting these experiences in there to help guide you through life. And there is no rush. There is no rush in life. Where I sit right now, I'm like, people think, oh my God, I've got to be doing this by this age or this by this age. I'm like, why? Who's telling you that? Why? So slow down, embrace what is in your path, and listen to your heart. As a parent, that's what I've been telling my kid consistently, to really kind of follow because I do believe that we all have a purpose in life. And if you can discover that, that is awesome. And it will mean that your life journey will be full and rich. And I have watched some of her youth that have gone to school, parent pressure. Were they in a program that they wanted? No. Did they switch? Yeah. Did they drop out? Some. And that's okay. That's all part of everyone's unique journeys. But I think what I love about Howl, that I get really excited about as a parent, is that it provides an opportunity that has purpose. It has intention behind it, to help you find what those passions are and to guide you. The other part that I fully, I think is incredible is the mentorship. And so in high school, I know that Adam Robb as a teacher was an incredible mentor. The fact that he has 3 students involved with Howl, Teresa's on I'm seeing her down there, is another one. I just warms my heart, right? But that mentorship, we still need it. We all need mentors in life. And to have that mentorship period where you're in a community that's going to support you, is a real beacon, and it's a real opportunity to take. So from a parent lens, I just think if you're looking for something new, life is not linear. Howl might be a good fit for you to kind of be in and with community and to be mentored by some incredible educators and community members, to find what your passion is, to find what your calling is. And we're all going to be here to help you on that path. So I'll leave it at that.
Thanks, Vicki. And Vicki was worried beforehand that she might ramble on, but her energy is always so appreciated, and no ramble, so thank you. And finally, Cass, I wonder if you would share your perspective and tell us a little bit of who you are and kind of what you see the value of Howl being from your perspective.
Wonderful. Thank you, Adam. And hello all. I'm Cassandra Caiger. I work as a community engagement specialist and change maker by day. So what that means is I work a lot in the space of problem solving and innovating for clients on diverse complex challenges, sometimes with municipal government, sometimes with private developers, sometimes with not-for-profits in the health and social sector. So really just bringing that process to my everyday work. I came to Howl via a former partnership, which maybe adds me. I wasn't a student of Adam Robb's, but a co-conspirator, I guess, in his time at the Career and Technology Center in Calgary. And so collaborating or partnering with him on that energy and environmental innovation program, a project within that program, rather, I had such an amazing experience supporting the youth in his class in developing a process for their 7th-generation community building project. And it just made me really yearn for more in terms of being able to provide a bit of that mentorship and just opportunities for youth to get the chance to see more of the world, more of other people, more of what there is to offer outside of our kind of typical sphere of life trajectories that Vicki spoke so eloquently to. So that ultimately landed me as a board member and now the board chair for Howl, which has been also a super rewarding part of the experience in being able to set this all up. And although it can sometimes feel like some of the very undervalued tasks, we know they're important to keep this show going. So to speak a little bit to the value of Howl from my perspective is really the exposure. So exposure to new people, places, worldviews. These are what develop the soft skills that are becoming like so increasingly important in the workplace across the country, across North America, really. And what I mean by these soft skills, it's things like leadership, public speaking, being empathetic, having intercultural fluency and other inclusivity and or inclusive perspectives and practices that bringing that to their day-to-day work and life. And it's hard to know what you want to do, and when you don't know what you don't know, it's harder to find that path for yourself. And of course, we all know you can be a doctor or lawyer or police officer or garbage collector, but there's not a whole lot of exposure to that behind the scenes work that makes the world turn. And I think Howl is an opportunity to provide that exposure to more diverse cross-section of careers and community volunteering and other opportunities that exist out there. And I mean, to draw on personal experience too, not just an employer lens. I mean, I was in that boat as well. I remember being in my grade 12 year of high school, and I was good at a business course. I got a good grade, and I thought, all right, well, I guess I'll become an accountant. And lo and behold, after my first year, didn't I change my major from from business to geography of all things? So a real a real 180. But admittedly, yeah, it was a confusing time. I mean, I was spending more time in pubs than the classroom. Being, around people was more interesting to me than learning, which again, I believe is a reflection of being 18 and very unsure, or even very interested in the things I was kind of blindly selecting as my future. And so I think back in that time, I had a friend invite me, or convince me rather, to come out I was originally from Ontario, to come out to Alberta to work in Waterton Lakes National Park. And I think that there's some, real strong ties to this, and that's really where I learned an incredible amount about myself, built relationships, especially with those from other places, from across Canada, from across the world, that I just otherwise wouldn't have been able to have, and learning those contexts and cultures that were different than my own, as well as being connected to the natural world and in a new way by being in the Rocky Mountains, was truly a life-changing experience that ultimately led me here. And so I guess I'll round it out or close it out by telling a short story about my own experience getting hired in the role I'm in now with my organization. And that's that the job application that I applied for when I ultimately came out of school was called New Graduate Planner. And of course, all the applicants had the exact same educational background as me, because the position was for a planner who just graduated. And so we all had the piece of paper that said we've done that education, but I had to think real long and hard about how I'm going to set myself apart. And ultimately, when my now boss had offered me this job 9 years ago, he told me, it's great that you did the degree, but when looking at your resume and talking to you, it was actually your experience as a server, being a waitress, that made you stand out amongst the cohort, because there's a strong emphasis on community engagement, and you have a customer is always right attitude if you've come from that environment. And that really opened my eyes to the value of experience outside of, or in addition to, education. So I think when it comes down to it, Howl provides that environment for individuals who are looking to grow in ways that will ultimately set them apart.
Thanks so much, Cass. And I just had one follow-up question that I wanted to ask. When we had our brainstorming session, were you upstairs or were you downstairs?
I can't.
Were you there for that session? That's okay. So, and maybe you had to leave. So we had a retreat a number of months ago now, and it was where a lot of these ideas kind of came to fruition. And partway, like towards the end of our staff retreat, half of our group went downstairs to brainstorm curriculum and pedagogy and all the ideas and the amazing things that our participants were going to go. And then we had people upstairs as well who were working on the business plan and the accounting and all these amazing things that our board is working on behind the scenes. And we had chart paper with Post-it notes, and we came together at the end. And the downstairs group had this piece of chart paper that had like Post-it notes falling off of it as we were coming up the stairs. And then the upstairs group had 6 carefully placed Post-it notes. And I think it just shows the contrast of just the different skills that are needed to bring something like this together.
I was admittedly upstairs group now that you relived it for me. We were very careful. Decisions had to be agreed on before anything went on the paper. So for sure, serving the right and left side of the brain in the house that day.
Totally. Thank you so much.